Is Goku's hairstyle actually unique? In the world of anime and manga, it absolutely is. I mean, don't get me wrong, yeah, there's plenty of other spiky-haired characters in anime and manga, but the second you see the outline of Goku's hair, you know you're looking at Goku. However, there's a belief out there held by some Dragon Ball fans that in the universe of Dragon Ball, Goku's hairstyle is a common feature among low-class Saiyans. And this belief isn't something exclusive to the English-speaking Dragon Ball fandom. There's also fans in Japan who believe this.
サイヤ人の下級選手は髪型のバリエーションが少ないので、スカウターとかをつけたらまた違うキャラになることができます。
But there's a line in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie that basically refutes this. Unfortunately, though, you wouldn't know this if you've only watched the English dub. So on this edition of Dragon Ball Dictionary, I'm gonna bust the misconception that Goku's hairstyle was commonly seen among other low-class Saiyan warriors. Hey guys, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell for more videos about Dragon Ball, anime localization, and some general anime stuff. And of course, a like and a comment would be greatly appreciated. In case you're not aware, my last video was a 30-minute deep dive into Saiyan hair. So yes, this is kind of a part 2 to that video, but you don't need to watch the first video in order to enjoy this video. But I do recommend that you go check that one out if you haven't already. But for now, let's focus on Goku's hairstyle and the origin of this idea that it's not unique. So after I began looking into this, it didn't take me long to find out what seems to be the origin of this idea. The 1990 Dragon Ball Z movie 地球丸ごと超決戦, which in English translates to something like the decisive battle for the entire Earth. But in English, this movie is of course better known as Tree of Might. The villain of this movie is Turles, or as he's known in English, Turles. He's basically a Goku clone in armor. About halfway through the movie, Gohan sees Turles for the first time, and for a moment, he mistakes him for his father. In other words, he thinks it's Goku. And in response to Gohan calling him dad, Turles says this.
It's Big Green!
Sorry, I couldn't help it. I had to include the Big Green clip here somewhere. Anyway, here's how Funimation dubbed this line.
You recognize that I resemble your father. We are both Saiyan warriors struck from the same mold, built for destruction.
This isn't a word-for-word translation of what Turles actually says here. It's also not horrible, like it's in the general spirit of the original line. But this is a Dragon Ball Dictionary video, and what we do here is go back to the original Japanese and analyze the language used there. So let's do that. Check out my translation of what Turles says here.
It's not surprising that Kakarot and I would look alike. After all, disposable low-class Saiyans like us show little variation in their looks.
Now, this isn't a word-for-word literal translation of what he says, but it's a lot closer to the original Japanese. If you want a more literal translation, you can see it on screen right now. Now, let's dig a little bit deeper here. So, the main point of what Turles is saying here is that low-class Saiyans all kind of look alike. And the way that he says this in Japanese is that there are few types of the disposable low-class Saiyans. What exactly taipu or type means is not clear, but through the context we can kind of figure out that yeah, there seems to be other low-class Saiyans that either look exactly like Goku or look very similar to him and of course Turles because they look like each other. Something that is especially interesting about this statement is that Turles uses the word "tsukaiste." This means disposable. So he's describing low-class Saiyan warriors as disposable. They are interchangeable. They are meaningless. They are like the clone troopers in Star Wars. If they die, who cares? There will be another one that looks just like that low-class Saiyan warrior to replace them or to be sent off to another planet to potentially die. Now, going back to the hair thing, one way we can interpret what Turles says here is that low-class Saiyan warriors only have, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5 hairstyles. And one of them is the Goku hairstyle. You can also interpret this as meaning that low-class Saiyan warriors only have like 3 or 4 or 5 faces. So it's totally reasonable to conclude that aside from Turles, there were other low-class Saiyan warriors who, at the very least, had Goku's hairstyle, if not looked basically exactly like him. But here's the thing, the Dragon Ball Z movies are their own thing. They don't tie back into the main Dragon Ball story. So you can't take a statement like this seriously. Why does Turles say this? Well, in order to answer why Turles says this, we have to answer why Turles actually looks like Goku. The answer to this is pretty simple. The Dragon Ball Z movies are basically Toei's takes on things that happen in the actual Dragon Ball story. Lord Slug is Toei's take on Demon King Piccolo. Cooler is Toei's take on Frieza. And Turles is Toei's attempt to show us how Goku would have turned out if he hadn't hit his head as a baby and turned into the good Goku that we all know. And they make this explicitly clear at the end of the movie.
ソン君が赤ん坊の時に頭を打っててくれて本当によかったわね。
そうじゃな。もしかしたらターレスたちと徒党を組んで宇宙を荒らしまくっていたかもしれんな。
And so, well, since Toei doesn't believe in subtlety, and they thought, well, an evil Goku type character would be quite marketable, Goku Black,
This man isn't black!
they decided to just go with a Goku design for Turles. But of course, if you just throw in a character that looks like Goku and you don't explain why he looks exactly like Goku, people are gonna be confused. They're gonna think, is this another brother that Goku didn't know about? Is this his uncle? Like, why does this character look like Goku? So obviously Toei decided to explain this by saying, all those low-class Saiyans look alike. So that's all there is to it. And yet a lot of people just seem to believe what Turles said.
You ever wonder why Turles looks nearly identical to Goku? Turles points out how low-class Saiyans tend to look alike. Most low-class warriors share the same spiky black hair, slim builds, and similar facial features. It's actually part of the Saiyan caste system. It's like the looks of a lower-class warriors are in uniform. So Turles isn't Goku's evil twin. He's just another lower-class warrior with a chip on his shoulder.
But in mainline continuity Dragon Ball, there is a statement that refutes what Turles said. That statement is uttered by Goku's mom, Gine, in the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. This statement happens in the scene where Bardock sees Goku for the first time. Here's what Gine says in the English dub.
I think he may be a late bloomer. He looks just like you, though, don't you think? He certainly has his father's hair, for better or worse.
Unfortunately, this doesn't quite capture the nuance of the original Japanese. So, let's check out my translation of what Gine says in this moment.
He's a slow grower, but he looks just like you, right? Especially that peculiar hairstyle.
Notice how in the English dub, Gine says, oh, for better or worse, his hair looks just like yours. But in the Japanese, Gine specifically calls Bardock's hairstyle peculiar. The word that she uses in Japanese is dokutoku, which means peculiar. It can mean unique. It means something that is not commonly seen. In other words, this statement refutes the idea that Goku's hairstyle is seen commonly in Saiyan society. There's no reason to believe that Gine wouldn't know what a peculiar hairstyle to a Saiyan would be. She's a typical Saiyan, so she would have seen plenty of Saiyans in her life with all kinds of hairstyles, and she's calling Bardock's hairstyle peculiar. So even though I can't say for sure that there aren't other Saiyan hairstyles that are common among low-class Saiyan warriors, we can say with pretty much 100% certainty that Bardock's hairstyle, in other words, Goku's hairstyle, is not normal or common among Saiyans. Bardock had it and Goku got it because Bardock is Goku's dad. But of course, in reality, it's the other way around because out of universe, Goku was created before Bardock. But anyway, it makes total sense now that the corporate interests that control Dragon Ball would want to make Goku's hairstyle a unique aspect of his visual design. Goku is the main character. Goku is your most recognizable character. So you don't want to have his most iconic visual feature be shared by tons of other characters. For example, if Goku one day goes back to see the Saiyans before Frieza destroys them, and 9 out of every 10 characters has hair just like him, that would be really boring and really bad for merchandising. So to conclude, why does Turles look like Goku? Well, it's not the in-universe reason that Turles gives. The whole all low-class Saiyan warriors look-alike thing, that is only for the movie, and that's where it ends. In reality, it all comes down to Toei. Toei decided that this design would be marketable and, well, let's just say that they got lazy. Remember, this movie came out in 1990, before the Bardock TV special, and long before Goku Black. An evil-looking Goku, a villainous Goku. I get it, it has its allure. As for the laziness thing though, well, obviously, instead of coming up with a new character, it's easier, faster, cheaper to just reuse Goku's design, put him in some battle armor, and you're good to go. All you gotta do is come up with one line of dialogue that explains why he looks like Goku. As for the Goku hair thing, all the evidence suggests that it was not a common feature among Saiyans, and it's unique to the Son family.
If you want to know, Kakarot and I are similar. Because we, the lower combatants, don't have many types.
And with that, I am done talking about Saiyan hair, right? I think I've said just about everything that can be said about Saiyan hair, but maybe I forgot something. Let me know if I did down in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, watch part 1 if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.